So, I don't know, cold open for show number 3. It's obviously Region 3, but we can do anything we want.
Yeah.
So
we are in Montclair, so there might be...
These are for you guys.
Oh, thank you. Wait a minute.
See us.
Come on into the camera, sir. Let's identify you. Hold on one second here. I'll sacrifice my microphone here. Who are you, sir?
I'm Ja'Quill Burch, quarterback, Montclair State.
We knew that because we had you on our show not that long ago. Ja'Quill,
yes,
how are you, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. How's it feel to be back?
It feels great to be back. We're excited to get going and play again.
So, okay, this is a cold open. You know how we work it here.
Yeah.
We try to be a little funny. So, first thing I want to talk about, and we haven't thanked him yet in our shows this week, but for helping us get out here, Coach Palazzo, and the great work he does. Tell us your favorite Coach Palazzo story right off the bat.
My favorite Coach Palazzo story is probably when he came to see me in high school 5 years ago. He came to see me twice, actually. And I didn't, because I had broke my foot in high school, and I really have no coaches going to see me after that. But he came to see me a couple times, so that's probably my favorite story.
He must have loved you.
Yeah.
It still does, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
You're an important part of this offense. Okay, so we've been talking throughout these shows about how do you stay conditioned and everything else for when you don't really play much, at least. In your case, you guys had a couple games, but you don't play much in a season. How have you stayed conditioned? You look like you're in great shape right now, ready to go.
Thanks. Well, we jumped a lot of rope in the off season, but I think especially during the spring when they had the hour practice, it's making those days count. We're really like making every rep count, making every session, every practice count during the spring with the little amount of time that we had. Cause we were divided into 2 teams, an hour each team, an A group and a B group. So it was just making those days really count for us.
Ja'Quill, you got RPI coming up next weekend. You're going to go upstate New York. It's been a little while since you guys have played a game. What's the feeling like on the team? You know, we're recording this on a Saturday, 1 week away. How does it feel?
We're excited. You know, RPI will be an unfamiliar opponent, so we're excited to see what they can bring. We're excited to see what we can bring to them, and we just can't wait to go up and see them.
So let's see here.
Yeah,
I like it. I'm wearing this. I'm definitely wearing this.
Yeah.
I caught a little flack, Ja'Quill, from Coach Cernia that he doesn't think we'd wear this color red with white because RPI has the same colors, and he's challenging us. So, Coach, see, we can wear this color.
Yep.
Yeah, red and white looks pretty good.
Yep. Yeah, we're good. Don't worry.
Yeah.
He may be trying to send us some stuff though. I'll tell you. But okay, let's talk prediction-wise here. Montclair.
Put them on the spot.
There's no Wesley here this season. Salisbury and Montclair are probably the top of the conversation. Rowan is knocking on the door always. Can this team do it? Can this team get the NJAC title and get to the playoffs?
We believe we can, but we got RPI first, and that's our main goal. RPI is first on our list. So
is Coach
everything else
behind me? Is that what's going on here?
That's exactly what a football player is thinking right now, man. One at a game at a time.
Tell folks that they're watching season 14 of your favorite show. Send us to our open.
You guys are watching season 14 of D3 in the Huddle, and we can't wait to get our season started.
You heard the man. Here we go. Gotta love the QB opening our show and getting some good swag there. Thanks for the Montclair State hoodies. Definitely wearing those. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And we will, I think, be talking to him later on this season. I just have this funny feeling. I know one game I've got circled on my calendar is that October 2nd game, I think it is, against Salisbury right here.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yep, for NJAC purposes, again, without Wesley in Region 2, it'll be interesting. But this is our Region 3 show, so we're going to stare back to that right now. And we do have a guest coming up that we wish we could have talked to more in the spring.
Yeah.
Ian Barr from Westminster joining us. The PAC is an important factor.
The PAC is back.
Yeah, it is in Region 3, which is the South. Now, okay, here we go again. Well, the PAC has always been considered in the South region, or the original South region.
There is a school from West Virginia in there, so that's getting into the South. Yeah.
So we sort of just kind of go with it, and this isn't as big of an impact like the ASC being tossed out to Region 6 that we've focused on. The ASC belongs in this region, and yet they are not. And we thought it would be changed. They did not.
I heard it was going to be changed, and then it didn't. So
exactly. Now we're going to run through, or at least show on the screen, teams that we ranked from Region 3 to give you some perspective here. Obviously, you look at Westminster and Washington and Jefferson, and several others here.
Hendricks and Barry, and sort of the usual suspects that we've kind of learned over the last few years.
It's
Randolph-Macon.
I was just actually going to jump to that because I'm looking at our games to watch list here in week 2, and Randolph-Macon sitting right there. They had an incredible end to their spring season. You got to think they can roll with that.
Pass, catch, and touchdown at OT.
Exactly. So, let's look at some key games here in week 1. So you look at the week 1 games here, and a game I'm attending, Mount Union at Westminster, obviously a huge one. But Hanover at center. That's an interesting game, how that may have come to be. Two teams that you wouldn't necessarily place as playing each other, and they got this one to go. Yeah,
for sure. Especially, Hanover's been a multi-time Heartland champs. Center was literally a play here and there away from winning the SAA in the spring. They've been a playoff team, definitely a strong program. This, once again, kind of follows what we've been talking about in Regions 1 and 2. This is a game where, it doesn't necessarily hurt their chances if they win their conference and get the Pool A bid, but a loss here could put Pool C situations in a challenge if they don't win their conference. So just like Western New England and Springfield and some of these other games, this is a huge opening game for both programs.
Back to the slide, the one I'm going to pick out, though, to you is Oshkosh at Huntingdon.
Very interesting.
Because, with all the coin toss back and forth and everything, Huntingdon has a lot. I think they're going to want to prove to folks that there was no fluke or anything like that.
Absolutely.
They believe that, they know that, but they also want the rest of the country to shut up about the coin toss, including me, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, Huntingdon and Oshkosh, there's a great way to see, barometer-wise, where one team that didn't play in the spring versus one team that did and successfully at that, how that may affect things ultimately.
Yeah, and ultimately this is a semi, battle of top 25 teams because Huntington was in our spring top 25.
Yep. Oshkosh is high in ours. So there, a lot of expectations there and for the Titans. So this is a great, almost like an NCAA game type of preview. So should be an excellent opportunity to see how these two top teams from different regions match up. Week 2, not as exciting, I don't think, in terms of marquee games, but we do highlight River Falls at Hendricks, which is another interesting Wisconsin carryover game to the SAA in this case.
One thing I'll say that's different about Region 3 compared to 1 and 2 is that these conferences are bigger. There's more like a 9-10 team type conference setup, and so you're really only going to get one out of conference game. So pretty much starting week 2, you get into the conference schedule, which, let's face it, in every conference there's a top tier, a middle tier, and a bottom tier. So every week isn't necessarily going to be super exciting, but you still got to play the games and win them to move your way up the ladder.
So let's go back to the PAC. Interesting development when Case Western Reserve chose not to play.
Yep.
And ultimately, you look at who wins the first ever on the field championship, and it was Westminster of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Team that, as I said, I'll be going to visit on Saturday. My days and nights and weeks and everything are all messed up already here as we get back to action. But on Saturday, they're hosting Mount Union. We want to talk to our defensive player of the season from the spring, Ian Barr, the linebacker who came back from a pretty devastating injury in the 2019 bowl game that they played. Here's our interview with Ian. Ian, thanks for joining us. And, I was just reading on your bio on the Westminster Athletics page, and there's some great stuff there. And you know me, I'm the guy that asks the hard-hitting questions. And so everybody wants to know, is your mother's chili really that good, and why?
It is definitely that good. I don't know. She has no recipe, I would say, but she has a unique mix. She spices it up a little, so it's always a little bit different, but it's always around the same, if that makes sense. But it's unique to her.
Okay, so can your mom bring some chili to the Westminster Mount Union game? That's my question.
I will let her know.
Okay, I want to try this chili. JB, now get to the less important questions, obviously, maybe about football.
Well, I'm kind of curious because when we're filming this little segment tonight, I know that the Raiders are scrimmaging against W&J, your guys, kind of your number one rivals in the PAC, at least. The team that you beat for the PAC Spring Championship. I mean, do you have any buddies on that President's team, or do you guys all don't talk to each other because of how deep that rivalry goes? And are there? I imagine your coaches are probably got to be checking that out. I mean, it's got to be exciting to have a team like Mount Union come to town. And I guess what can we as sort of D3 fans and Frank actually is going to be there in person expect? What's the game day or game night in this case, because it's going to be, I think, no, it's actually it's in the afternoon. So what's a game day experience like for the people at the Titan Stadium?
We get a couple Western PA parents, a lot of Western PA parents, so there's a little bit of crazy Yinzer stuff there for sure. But outside of us playing. Usually the one back end zone has parents just lined up tailgating before the game. And then I would say during the game, it's a small stadium, but it gets pretty loud. Parents get into it, students get into it. So, hopefully we're making plays to help elevate that a little bit.
I remember the video production that we got to see for the championship game, and you guys had some pretty packed stands even during COVID, so credit to everybody for getting that to work out back in the springtime. But Ian, your story is an interesting one, obviously, from a perspective of where you've come from and where you've gone in the recent term, at least. For folks that don't know what happened in the bowl game in 2019, and your comeback story, fill them in. What happened, and how did you get back on that field to the degree that you did?
So the 2019 ECAC bowl game, we played Morrisville State up there, and I tried to hip toss a 350-pound offensive tackle. So that ended up in a torn ACL, and just a long recovery with that. Obviously, through COVID, that made it a bit of a mess. But I had a really good supporting cast around me, especially when I got home, and my physical therapist at home was kind of able to pick up where we were going with the athletic training program at school, and he stayed on me. He was really helpful and kept me pushing, and I knew that I wanted to come back better than what I was in the sophomore year. That was my goal, whether or not I was healthy or not, was to be a much better player. So that was just another obstacle that I had to get through, and I think I did. So
what have you guys been sort of working on that you learned from the spring season, kind of into this now preseason, getting ready for fall as a defense, or even just as a team in general, to help you guys maybe get past some of those struggles where you may not need to have some of those big plays as much as you used to, but obviously getting a few here and there doesn't hurt.
Right. Our defense has always preached defensive touchdowns and turnovers since I've gotten here. It's something that we do really well, and I think since I've gotten here, we've finished top 25, top 10 in the country every single year in that. So that's really a big emphasis for us on defense. And then offensively, we have playmakers, and last year I think we were kind of young outside, and we had some newer guys that transferred over to the backfield, and obviously Cole, our quarterback, did a really good job helping them come along quickly. But I think one thing that's really standing out is hopefully they can get better consistency with that. So we aren't just relying on them to make a shot play, but they can drive the ball, get long drives as well, and start wearing down opposing defenses.
Every school's got a different number of seniors that have decided to come back. You are, as we were talking kind of offline, you are a technical fourth year, and you are in the medical school program, I believe, over at Westminster, and that will allow you to come back for another year. Sorry, PAC folks, he's back for another year after this, so get used to him. But
change that to junior linebacker.
Yeah, seriously. Well, we don't know what to call anybody at this point, but
yeah,
we'll just roll with this. But the point being this, tell us about kind of the decision-making process that you saw occur, because a team that played a full 5-game season or thereabouts across the country might have seniors that feel fulfilled and might not have come back in that situation, whereas teams that played nothing probably had a better chance to get them to come back because of that need or desire to play. What is the story with Westminster seniors, and what made it happen? Was it Coach Benzel, or give us kind of the insight as to your team's COVID story now?
Yeah, I guess we really only lost, I think, 3-4 seniors that were consistent contributors last year. And I think just the reason a lot of older guys came back, like Frank Antuano, Braden Timmons, guys like that came back, is we see that we have the opportunity to do something special this year. And I think that was just the major focal point, is we wanted to attack the spring season and we wanted to go out and win the championship and go 5-0. But we wanted that to be a building block for us. And, obviously I think the guys that did leave wanted to come back, but they kind of got all that thrown on them. They had job opportunities, and, they did do what's best for them at that point in their life. But I think that was the major focal point, is just coming back and winning another championship.
Well, yeah, and I guess Ian, irrespective of how the game goes on the 4th, I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, the goal is to win a championship in starting off in your conference, and then see what happens in the playoffs. I mean, I guess heading into this season, how do you feel things are kind of similar or different from just even a few months back? I mean, is it weird to kind of have to start off a preseason when you literally played a conference championship game like 3 or 4 months ago?
Right. Yeah, it's actually, I think it's been good for us because, like I said, we really didn't lose a lot of guys that played a lot in the spring. So we've been able to kind of hit the ground running in that sense, and our playbook's been much more wide open in the spring than it normally, or in the camp than it normally is, because of the spring. Because it's all fresh. We're still there. We're still ready to go. I guess that's answers that question, I suppose.
I'm going to jump in here before Frank pops in with another question. I'm curious. Is that white hat hanging on the back of your door? Is that a PAC Championship hat that you guys got from winning the preseason, or am I just seeing things from far away?
No, that is. That was not intentional, but yeah, it's there. Always got to have it.
Nice.
So.
That's right, baby. That's great.
That's awesome. So, but it leads to my next question. So, very good segue there, Mr. Baker. Case, I believe, is the first team up. Remind me if I'm wrong on this, but it goes Mount Union, bye week, Case, Grove City. Is that the order?
Yes.
It's a hell of a start of a season there. Your first 3 games, I mean, some teams would easily go 0-3 in that gauntlet right there. You guys have not beaten Case, I don't think, in your tenure at the school at Westminster. So there's got to be kind of a personal feeling here of, whatever happens with the Mount Union game, that game being a conference game and being a game against a team like Case is something that you absolutely are going to want to get at, and then late on the line against Grove City the week after. I mean, does your conference schedule always stack up like this? And what's your thoughts here?
I can't remember it stacking up quite like that in the past. And obviously it seems a lot more daunting whenever you throw Mount Union there to start the season off. And I think they moved a couple games around with COVID, and some teams not playing and some teams did. Some of the schedules got mixed up there. But yeah, regardless of Mount Union, the PAC, I don't think, is routinely a conference that's getting at-large bids in the playoffs. So we know that regardless of what happens week 1, we have to win our conference. That's the start to get in and make a playoff run, which we want to do this year. So why not get off to a hot start with 2 of the best teams in the conference and figure out where we're really at?
Let me just follow up one thing. What was the team's reaction when the announcement came through? And I think we had broken it along with the school that Mount Union was going to be your first opponent, because that was pretty late in the ball game that decision got made, from what I understand.
Actually, no. I've known about that. That was kind of like a selling point whenever I was getting recruited. We knew, I guess it would have been my junior and senior year, we had a home-and-home with Mount Union. And, we were a little unsure if it was going to come back with COVID, but they were able to work out the deals or however they do that. So, we've known about it, and so it was something with my class and some of the guys that have transferred in. We've signed up for this challenge, and we knew it was ahead of us, and we've taken the past 3 years to prepare, really. So.
Yeah, and it's funny, Frank, I'm actually having deja vu all over again, because Ian, earlier today we spoke with Coach Thorne of North Central, the defending Stag Bowl champions, and they will have to open up their season against Aurora, which is ranked as a top 25 team by D3Football.com, and has a quarterback which might be in the Gallardi Trophy offering. And then the next game they have to play is against Wheaton, who actually beat them in 2019 and is like their number 1 rival in their conference. So it's funny, you guys and the defending Stag Bowl champs have a lot in common with these very challenging out-of-the-gate schedules, but at the same time, it presents a really awesome opportunity, and why not take your shot, so to speak, when it's presented to you. And I imagine that, especially after the last 18 months or so, that having a game like this at home to open up a season after what was effectively a no season in 2020, it just must feel really great.
Right, and as cliche as it is, if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best. It really is true, though. You have to be prepared to take on challenges. Whether it's football or in your life, you got to be prepared to take on the challenges that get thrown at you. So, I think that's what we're going to do. So.
And let's talk about you for one more second here. You were our defensive player of the season, countrywide, nationwide, in the spring season. We had reached out to Coach Benzel because we had a thought of one of your teammates as well, not naming names at this point, but when we did so, his response was essentially, you are the heart of his team. And I don't know what level of surprise it was to you that you were named Defensive Player of the Season, but to hear those words from Coach Benzel, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot. It's it's something that you work towards as any football player, I think, should. Is you want to be the guy, and you kind of want to be the face of a program if you really, really want to be this good. And coming as a freshman, there were a lot of good seniors from that class when I was a freshman that helped bring me along, and as well as the class underneath them. So they've played a huge impact in making me who I am. And, it was my goal to not only show off the work they've done, but the work I've done too, to help become help get to where I'm at. So.
Well, perfect segue, Ian, because as is a long-standing tradition now into our 14th season, we have always offered our student-athlete guests the opportunity to give shout-outs to any friends, family, current, former teammates. It sounded like you have a few folks there, maybe right at the tip of your tongue, that you would like to say hey to for any of those tuning in. Ian Barr, the floor is yours.
Yeah, for sure. I think on defense, we'll shout out Miggy, AP, and Paulie, a couple of Florida guys that really helped take me in and bring me along when I was younger. And then Brady Hogue has been very influential. And then obviously my parents and Adam Frank, my physical therapist, when I went home, really helped make me be ready for last year.
You gotta love the grit that Ian Barr has. And my favorite thing about Ian, chilly question aside, is he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, med student smart guy.
Future Dr. Barr, probably.
And, he's very matter of fact about things. You can tell that he's very focused, and that has helped him become the heartbeat of that team, as Coach Benzel has referred to him, to us especially.
Yeah.
I've got a tough question for you, though. Okay, we've got Westminster above all other PAC teams in our top 25, number 12.
Not by much. They're only a couple spaces ahead of the Presidents. And
that's the question. How do you think this plays out with Case getting back in action here?
That's probably the biggest question for this whole entire region, especially with some of the games that we're going to see in the first couple of weeks. I think Case Western Reserve feels like they have a lot to prove. I remember during the PAC Media Day when I tuned in for that, some of their senior captains were really upset that they didn't get a chance to defend that title, and they're going to do everything that they can that's under their control to get it back.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think, the SAA is going to be exciting to watch.
Oh yeah.
Let's not kid ourselves here.
Yeah, all those games in the spring were decided by a few plays here and there. They were amazing.
USA South is going to be interesting to watch after the coin toss discussion, but just the teams that have seem to be getting better as well. But the PAC to me is where it's at in terms of the lack of clarity, because we have teams we've been talking about, the Grove Cities of the world, Case. Then you throw in Westminster and Washington Jefferson back into the mix here from the spring, and we know that they've gotten better from playing spring football. And this could be a four-way race that goes down to the wire.
Could be more than that, because even schools like Geneva, I mean, they knocked off some of their higher-ranked opponents, so to speak, and they finished on a two-game win streak at the end of the spring. So I think the PAC is about as wide open as it gets. I know the folks down in Brevard are really chomping at the bit to prove that they were really the conference champions of the USA South.
Yep.
And so, and in the ODAC too, I mean, even though Emory and Henry is gone, that Hampton-Sydney and all those other schools in there with Randolph-Macon, it's going to be a really tight race.
Well, Hampton-Sydney feels like they were somewhat embarrassed, I think, in the game against Randolph-Macon.
They didn't show up as well as they probably could or should have.
And so you got to think that they're going to wake up from that slumber a little bit and fight back harder. So it could be interesting when they play each other later in the season. We got some great games coming up in Region 3. I'm actually excited that we've been able to add them into our coverage area here this season, and we will give you some good insight throughout the season to the degree we can provide that here on In the Huddle. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that Westminster hosting of Mount Union game coming up on Saturday. Excited to be out there, and we'll have a hopefully we're still working this out, but we're intending to have a kickoff show basically before the game that JB from Florida and I live in person there will be kind of monitoring what's coming up nationwide on Saturday number 1 of college football. We haven't gotten to say that much in the fall since 2019.
Been a while, yeah.
Regions 4 through 6 on our next show. Thanks again to everybody here at Montclair for having us, Coach Palazzo, Coach Giancola, and folks, tune in tomorrow. We got one more for you.